One of the ways that we know that God has a sense of humor is that at the end of 40 years wandering through the desert, God brought us in infinite wisdom to the only part of the Middle East with no oil. Ha, ha, ha. What a promised land. Our ancestors didn't know that they were going to a place without strategic petroleum reserves, but they did know that they were going to a very unusual part of the neighborhood to build a new civilization. They were going to a place that not only didn't have any oil, it didn't have any water. See, the great civilizations of the ancient Near East grew up along the side of rivers. Egypt along the Nile, Mesopotamia, Babylonia, along the Tigris and the Euphrates. Israel has a river. It's called the Jordan River, and I grew up with a folk song that includes a line, "The Jordan River is chilly and wide." And then I saw it. And it is neither cold nor wide. It is, at very best, a lukewarm trickle making its way through the dusty wadis of the north and down on its route to the Dead Sea. It is not really very much of a river at all. And God says in this Torah portion that God is doing us a favor. God says in Deuteronomy 11, I am taking you not to a land like Egypt, where the rivers watered everything like a vegetable garden. Rather, I am taking you to a land dependent on the rains that I will provide for you. Israel is a country that can only survive by the blessing of the rains. When the rains come, it's a good year, and the crops will grow. When the rains don't come, it's a scary year, and there isn't anything to drink, and there may be nothing to eat. It's a land of uncertainty by its geography, rather than the certain promise of a stable future offered by a place like Egypt or the Mesopotamian River Valley, where you know you are going to have bounty year after year after year. Instead, the promised land turns out to be a promise that hopefully it will go well, but not certainly. And I think there's something really powerful about that kind of a promise. A promise that you're going to have good years and bad years. A promise that you're going to have times of security and plenty and times when you're going to need to watch out for each other and take care of each other. A promise that sometimes things will go better than you could have dreamt, and that sometimes you're going to fall flat on your face. A promise not of certainty, but of possibility. Ava, you talked about reassurance. There's a reassurance for Egypt, which was the reassurance that next year the Nile will flood its banks and will have water, just like it did last year and the year before and the year before that, going back 100 centuries. Tomorrow is guaranteed. That's a lovely kind of reassurance. But that reassurance doesn't actually exist very much in our world. In our world, often the very best you can say is there is the possibility that things will go well if you work for it, if you take care of each other, if you trust. There's the possibility. And so go out and reach for that possibility. That's a different kind of reassurance, but it's a deeply realistic one. And we can do something with possibility. In the 10 years that I worked as a rabbi in Los Angeles, got to spend a great deal of time and developed a very, very deep respect for the Persian Jewish community. And part of that respect for your community comes from the fact that I get to see the story that happened to my great-grandparents that I didn't get to personally witness playing out now. I get to see what it looks like to have an immigrant community come and leave behind a place that had been their home forever and that became a place of fear and insecurity, to set out on a journey where there was no promise that everything would work out, where there was nothing given that would guarantee that on the other side of an ocean, on the distant shore of an unknown continent, that life would be possible and a community would be buildable. And yet, Ava, your parents as teenagers and your grandparents and so many people in your community, they went. They went not with an assurance that it would all go well, but with a promise of possibility. And that's extraordinary. My great-grandparents did that. I didn't get to talk to them about what that was like, but you get to talk to the people who did that. And you get to draw from their story strength. I want to bless us that we be okay with not having a promise that everything will work out perfectly, because such promises are rarely available in the world. But that when possibility offers itself to us, that we reach out and take it with both hands. Shabbat Shalom.